Hello, and welcome back to Story Sky English, your peaceful space for historical storytelling and English listening practice. Have you ever wondered how much power lies within just 26 letters? Most people use them to write simple, everyday notes. But in the hands of one man, those exact same letters built empires of emotion and created worlds that have lasted for more than 400 years. This is not just a story of a famous writer. This is the deeply human, mysterious, and triumphant journey of William Shakespeare, a man who suffered, loved, lost, and transformed the English language forever.
Our story begins on a freezing April night in 1564 in the sleepy riverside town of Stratford-upon-Avon. That very summer, a terrible disaster struck. The deadly bubonic plague swept through the town, taking the lives of a quarter of the population. But by a true miracle, a tiny newborn baby survived. His parents named him William Shakespeare. William did not belong to a royal family or a line of great philosophers. He was the eldest surviving son of a rising middle-class family.
His ambitious father, John Shakespeare, was a skilled maker of luxury leather gloves and a wool merchant who eventually became the town's mayor. His mother, Mary Arden, was the daughter of a wealthy and respected farmer. At the local King's New School, young William received a strict, intense education. He absorbed classical Latin literature and memorized the epic works of the Roman poet Ovid and the historian Plutarch. These stories became the very first fuel for his rich imagination. However, William never set foot inside a university, a fact that his highly educated academic rivals in the capital would later use to mock him, treating it like a permanent stain on his reputation.
As time flew by, 18-year-old William made a sudden, dramatic choice that would puzzle historians for centuries. He fell deeply in love with a woman named Anne Hathaway. Anne was 8 years older than him, and they married in a great hurry with a special church license because she was already 3 months pregnant with their first child, Susanna. By the age of 21, the young country man found himself a father of 3 children after Anne gave birth to twins, Judith and little Hamnet. And right here, history falls into a deep, silent mystery. For 7 whole years, between 1585 and 1592, Shakespeare completely vanished from all official records. These are known as the lost years. He left his wife and children behind in the quiet countryside and ran toward the roaring, chaotic city of London. People created many legends to explain this escape. Some said he fled to avoid prison after being caught illegally hunting deer on a nobleman's land. Others believed he worked secretly as a country school teacher or joined a traveling theater group as a simple assistant. But one thing was certain: When he finally reappeared, he was alone in the capital, chasing a dream far bigger than the boundaries of his small hometown. In London, Shakespeare's arrival was anything but quiet. It shook the literary world like an earthquake. The rapid success of this uneducated country boy made the university-educated writers, known as the university wits, burning with jealousy. On his deathbed, the famous writer Robert Greene attacked William in a bitter pamphlet, calling him an upstart crow, beautified with our feathers, who wrongly believed he was the only playwright in the country. But William never looked back. He possessed a secret weapon that would change global culture forever: the 26 letters of the English alphabet. During the Elizabethan era, English was a growing, highly flexible, and simple language. Shakespeare took absolute advantage of this. He carved, shaped, and invented more than 1,700 brand new words and expressions that no one had ever used before. He did this by combining separate words and turning nouns into verbs, masterfully using the magical sounds of vowels to make his sentences sound like beautiful, enchanting music that captured the hearts of everyone who listened. Very quickly, Shakespeare rose to become a wealthy business partner and actor in the theatrical company, The King's Men. He helped fund and build the famous Globe Theatre on the banks of the River Thames. It was a massive, circular, open-air theatre that brought all of society together. Wealthy noblemen sat in the high, covered balconies, while the poor commoners stood on the ground in the open yard, exposed to the rain and sun, all for the price of a single penny. Shakespeare's true genius was his unique ability to write stories that satisfied this completely contradictory mix of people at the exact same moment. He would write a physical, popular joke to make the poor commoners laugh. And in the very next line, he would pour out a deep, poetic, philosophical wisdom that made the king and the nobles applaud in absolute astonishment. Yet, while he was sitting comfortably on the throne of wealth and fame in London, a devastating piece of news arrived from the countryside of Stratford in 1596. It shook his human soul to its very core. He would write a physical, popular joke to make the poor commoners laugh, and in the very next line, he would pour out a deep, poetic, philosophical wisdom that made the king and the nobles applaud in absolute astonishment. Yet, while he was sitting comfortably on the throne of wealth and fame in London, a devastating piece of news arrived from the countryside of Stratford in 1596. It shook his human soul to its very core. his only son, the keeper of his family name, little 11-year-old Hamnet, had died of the plague. This bitter, deeply personal tragedy tore the writer's soul apart and changed the direction of his pen forever. The bright joy of comedy and laughter completely died out in his writings. His spirit turned toward darkness, diving into the deepest and most shadowed corridors of the human mind to bring forth the greatest tragedies in human history. To comfort his broken fatherly heart, he wrote his most immortal play, naming it after his departed son with the change of just a single letter, Hamlet. Into this play, he poured all his raw feelings of grief, existential dread, and man's confusion before death and destiny. From the womb of this tragic pain, a series of extraordinary masterpieces followed. He wrote Macbeth, dissecting blind political ambition and how it transforms a human being into a monster. He created Othello, capturing the destructive, demonic nature of jealousy. And he gave us King Lear, reflecting the heartbreaking ingratitude of children, the loss of power, and cosmic madness. After a life full of fame, success, deep secrets, and emotional storms, Shakespeare suddenly decided to leave the spotlight around the year 1613. He returned to his hometown to live quietly in New Place, the grand, luxurious mansion he bought with his fortunes, right next to the wife, Anne Hathaway, whom he had left behind for so many years. Death finally claimed him on April 23rd, 1616, at the age of 52. But even in death, he left one final personal mystery that drove historians mad. In his highly controversial will, he left his wife nothing but his second-best bed. Furthermore, he ordered a terrifying warning to be carved onto his gravestone, placing a dark curse on anyone who would ever dare to move his bones from their resting place. Shakespeare died and returned to dust, but the letters he wrote remain alive as living mirrors, reflecting the hidden corners of our own souls and the secret struggles of his life. When he wrote about Hamlet, he was writing about our own confusion and hesitation during the difficult turning points of life. When he wrote about Macbeth, he was writing about our own wild ambition that can blind us and pull us away from our true selves and the ones we love. And when he wrote about Romeo and Juliet, he was writing about our impulsive emotions and the burning passion of youth that defies all rules. This man proved that just 26 letters, when placed in the hands of someone with immense passion and a vast imagination, can build universes that endure for over 400 years. Centuries have passed, technology has advanced, and time has changed. Yet the human being remains exactly the same, struggling with ambition, drowning in the storms of jealousy, and asking in moments of brokenness and confusion alongside Hamlet, to be or not to be. That is the question. Thank you for listening to this story on Story Sky English. If you enjoyed diving into history with us today, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below telling us where in the world you are listening from. Your words mean a great deal to us. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.